All right, so a few days ago, I made a video regarding the whole Banksy self-shredding painting print at the auction house, Sotheby's auction house. I had a lot of interesting comments. I loved hearing what you guys thought about it. I had my own thoughts, initial thoughts that I made in that video. And somebody posted, or I think maybe a few people posted, that he committed fraud by intentionally, basically fraud means to intentionally deceive someone, trick someone for some kind of gain or advantage. Usually with money. So here's the interesting thing. I thought about that and I'm like, okay, it makes sense. He kind of did trick everyone. I mean, obviously, they thought it was just a regular painting, and then as soon as it sells, it shreds itself. So isn't this fraud? Well, if you think about it, and a lot of people thought, well, why didn't he want the money from it? Doesn't Banksy want the money? I'm like, no, he's anti-capitalist, so he doesn't really care about his painting selling. He doesn't want his paintings going up for auction. But here's the thing, was it really fraud? Because he wasn't the seller. He didn't put it up for auction at the auction house. That's not really how it works, and I don't think it's how it works. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but this thing was sold years ago or given away or whatever he did with it. I haven't been able to find the history of it, but I know it's probably out there. I believe he gave it to a dealer or something. It got put away, Sotheby's got a hold of it, and now it's up for auction. So he isn't the initial seller, so he's not making any money from this painting. The person selling it is making the money from it. Since he wasn't the seller, somebody else had it, is it still fraud? Is he still deceiving someone? I mean, down the line he is, by whoever bought it at the auction, but is he still liable since it's not his anymore? He sold it. I don't know, man, it's interesting because I think art still is property of the artist with copyright and stuff, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's an interesting thing to think about. I want to know what you guys think. Did he commit fraud by doing this? I don't know, because I don't think he was the initial seller, because he made a video explaining why he did what he did, and he did it years ago. He had a film of it that he put a shredder into a painting in case it ever went up for auction. Therefore, he never wanted his work to go up for auction. He doesn't like when it goes up for auction. He thinks people are stupid, completely stupid for paying so much money for his work, is what he's said in the past on his website, I believe. Like when someone auctioned off his work, it made a few $100,000, he was like, I can't believe you stupid idiots are like paying this much for this art. I think it's an interesting thing to think about. Did he commit fraud? Because at the end of the day, he did trick people, but also the person who bought it is actually probably down the line gonna make a lot more money from it. So obviously they're probably not gonna pursue him or sue him for fraud just because it ruined the artwork. It actually created maybe an even better in terms of the art market and the value, since it's kind of really a one-of-a-kind self-shredding artwork. So just a really interesting story, man, and I just wanted to touch further on that and kind of point out, I think a lot of people misunderstood the whole point of the auction. Like, he's not putting his work up for auction. He's not trying to make money from that. He's not actively doing that. I'm sure he could make millions if he was actively doing that. But I think the whole point of why his stuff gets value is because he is so anonymous and he's not putting his work up to auction and things like that. So it makes it more, you know, it's kind of like when you tell people, don't Google this, and then, you know, people are gonna wanna Google it. So if it's like, you know, I'm not selling my work, well, it makes you more valuable. People want more of it, and especially if you do a lot of your work with graffiti, anonymous graffiti, and more public, it's gonna make it more valuable. You know, at least if you get a buzz going around your name like he did, which is very interesting, but it's what the internet can do for you nowadays. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on the whole fraud thing, and I think people just misunderstood that he's not making money from this. He's not getting $1.4 million. The seller of it, to put it up for auction, is getting that money. So with some kind of commission, or at least, you know, Sotheby's, the auction house, is getting a large cut of that. So anyway, let me know what you think, guys, down below. I'd love to hear from you. Did he commit fraud? I don't, you know, it's a very weird line. Obviously, he's not gonna get pursued for it, I don't think, because it's way more valuable now than it probably ever was, just because it's such a crazy event. But technically, was it fraud? I mean, he did deceive people, but you could say it was part of the artwork. Maybe you should like inspect the artwork and actually look at what you're buying before you buy it. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. But that is kind of deceptive. So I'm torn on it, man. I'm torn on whether it's legally fraud, but regardless of whether it is or not, I like it. So I don't care. Anyway, take care of yourself. Peace.